Okay. Yeah, any more? So any more inputs? Any more you want to say regarding the SQL and the usage, particularly for a business analyst?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. SQL is basically a database analysis tool to analyze the data. It is basically used to write query to analyze the data from the server, and it's basically used to manipulate huge data and understand the analysis of the data. So it's basically a database analysis tool to understand the data and to make it on a particular table. There are queries which we can write, like to insert data, to like delete, modify, and to identify data. These are the normal options that as a business analyst we do in a.
Okay, great. And so before starting, I would like to confirm, like, is my audio clear to you? Like, there is no disturbances happening?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it is clear.
Okay, thank you. So let's have a basic introduction. So before we get to learn about SQL and the basic commands of an SQL for a business analyst, we'll try to come from the ground. So we'll first learn about what is a database actually. So this database is nothing but an organized collection of data generally stored and accessed from a system. And organized collection. So normally, let's say that you have a warehouse, for example. So you have a very big retail shop or a wholesale shop, and you have a warehouse where you store all the products, all the different kinds of products. Now, if, sorry, no audio. Is my audio clear or?
Hello.
Yeah, it's clear actually.
Yeah, your audio is clear.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, let's come to a warehouse example. So when you have this a very big wholesale shop and you have you know a warehouse where you store all your different kinds of products. So if you just store it and you throw it away in a random format, like some food items come in, you just throw it, and some cosmetics come in, you just throw it away. And you just want to keep it in a warehouse, but you did not organize them. You just didn't divide them into separate sections. Now, if you do that, we obviously know what the problem would be, right? If you want to, get some products out of that warehouse, it will be very difficult to find out where those particular products will be. We have to go through each and every box there in order to find out which one is the one that we really want. So that is the problem we would have if we didn't organize whatever that we have. So here, all the products there, the different kinds of products are what we consider as data, and the disorganized collection, like if you didn't organize it, if you just randomly throw all the data everywhere, then if you want to view some specific data, it will be very hard for us. So that is why we need an organized collection. We need that to separate it in a different sections so that it will be easily accessible for us. So that is what the database is for, to organize the data which is present. So another example could be this platforms. So I think everybody is aware of this Naukri platform, right? It is a job portal. Everybody is aware of it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for example, someone out of you, let's say that you have created a profile and you wanted to apply for a business analyst position, and you have uploaded your resume in your profile, and you started to search for different kinds of business analyst roles in your locality or throughout the India, and you found a post which is you think would be a best option for you. So what you do, you click on the apply to this job button, and when you do that, what would internally happen, like previously when you have created your own profile, once you have uploaded your resume, so each and every person who has an account in that Naukri, uh, they'll be stored in a different set, like all the details that they have mentioned in their profile will be stored on their side only. That is the purpose of having a database, and it organizes that particular data. So if we didn't have an organized one, so if some X person clicks on the job, instead of that X's resume, we would have someone else's resume sent to that particular job board. So that is what we did not want. That is the main purpose of having a database, to have an organized collections of data and make it available to access it easily, and to have a proper progression of all the things. So that is what the basics of database is. And these are the fundamentals. Like when we are working on a database, so there are very four fundamental things that we need to have a look at. So one is creating a database, and the second one is reading the database. Reading in the sense whatever the data that is present inside the database, if you want to just go through it without editing anything, that is what we call as reading the contents in the database, or you can just say read. And the third one is update. So we already have some set of data and we want to change it or update it. And then delete option. Create, read, update, and delete. So these four are the basic fundamentals that we can do. Normally, all out of these four, creating a database and updating and deleting are done by the database administrators. So in any IT company that you get into, you would have a database administrator working for them who will manage all the data that belongs to that company. He's going to create the databases, they're going to update and delete as per the necessity. And what you will do is you will go for the second part. So for a business analyst, we do not create any databases, we do not update any, or we do not delete any. So all these things would only be done by the database administrator. No one would have the access to do that unless the database administrator gives that himself to others. So as for a business analyst, we will only be able to read whatever the data that is already present. Okay, so those are the basic fundamentals. And now we'll come to SQL here. So SQL is also called structured query language. So this SQL, it is a programming language that is designed to facilitate retrieving specific informations from the database. So what does this really mean? Like we have some some information which is stored inside the database, and we want to look at that particular information. Now how do you look into that information? So this SQL language is used in order to call out that data which is inside the database to come out and show that in the screen. So this SQL is nothing but a language which we use in order to retrieve the data from the databases. And this SQL, which is so a structured query language, is used to manage the relational database management systems. So what is this relational database? Like we have two types of databases that we mainly work on, which is a normal database management system, which we have just talked seconds ago, which is an organized collection of data and all that. And we have another thing which is relationship database management system. It is another variant of database management system, and we use SQL only in the relational database format. So now we'll understand the differences between these. So what is a database management system, where it is used, and what is a relationship database management system and where it is used. Yes. So the database management system, you can see normally when we use our mobile phones or our systems or laptops, this database management system will be used in those things, because we will have our database divided into different files, and in that different files we can either store photos or videos or any documents, whatever we choose. So that will be divided into a file format, and we can just save them here. And in that we have a hierarchical or a navigational form, wherein we can, in that we will have a sort option wherein we can change it to, to arrange all those files from A to Z or Z to A, or from the time that they're in. So we can have that changes which we can do in the database management system. And there is no such thing called tables in the database management system. So somebody have told that we will have those tables using the SQL. So as that is right. So using the SQL, where do we use it? That is in the relation database management system. So in the RDBMS, we would have the tables, but in the normal DB, which we normally use in our phone or on our systems, there will be only stored as file, but there will be no tables here. And this DBMS is used for smaller data handling applications. Like we would have, in our mobile phones, some have 256 GB of internal memory, or some would have, external memory of 500 GB. So whatever this kind of, they're not that large. So when the small database management systems are used to cater to this kind of databases with only one single user, or just few users with a small data systems, so the database management system would be perfect for them. When it comes to relationship database management system, now this one is used for a larger data handling capacity models, and it stores the data in a tabular form instead of a data or a file. So that is the main difference. And those tables have different keys to it, and there are different kinds of things divided inside the tables that we'll learn on as we get into it. And in this, why is it called a relationship database management system? Is all the tables which are present inside this relationship database management system will all be linked to each other. Most of the tables which we create will be linked to each other or connected to each other. So that is why we call it as a relationship database management system. And as I've said, RDBMS is designed to handle large amount of data, and it supports multiple users. And where do we use it? So this SQL is a language. It is not a software by itself. It is a similar language to Python or Java. We have all these different languages, right? So SQL also another language, but we need to have a platform where we can connect the language and connect the database. So what happens is we would have, you can see the examples. We have MySQL, we have Oracle SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL. So all these are the software tools that we install, where we connect it to our databases of the IT company. So if you work in an IT company, and let's say that you are a database admin, for example. So what you would do, you would have this different systems, either MySQL or Microsoft SQL or Oracle Server. So you install this, and you're going to connect them to your IT company's databases. So that means you have all the data accessible. Now in that particular software, you're going to write the SQL code in order to either delete or update or create whatever the things which are present in that databases. So SQL is a language with which we can call out the data which is present in the database, and we can change it. So that is the main difference between normal DBMS and RDBMS. See, as we've talked about RDBMS and the tables, so this is the basic example. So a row is called a record, and a column is called as a field, and there will be unique key identifies a table. So now, no matter how many tables we create in this relationship database management system, every table has a unique column. So we have to find out that unique column. What do you mean by a unique column is, now in the C, in the name option. we have Bill Smith, we have Steve Smith, and we have Sean Smith. So in this, is there anything that is repeating or reoccurring? So we have this Smith name reoccurring, right? And in the city, so we customers, let's say that this is a retail store, for example. Guys, just give me a minute. Sumagar, చెప్పండి. కౌన్సిలింగ్ అని స్కిల్ సెషన్ చెప్తున్నాండి. తనకి 30,000 అని చెప్తే తన దగ్గర ఇప్పుడు 28 ఉన్నాయట, కడతా అన్నాడు. ఇంకో 2,000 తర్వాత కడతా అన్నాడు. ఓకే. Sorry for that. So in the city, we also have the city, repeating again, and in the state, we have this Florida again repeating, and in the pin. So if we assume that we have a retail store that we are running, and we have to maintain, the stock details and the customers who are coming in, the customer details, and the people who are working in our retail store. So we have to maintain this, and we have to also maintain a sales detail. So there are so many things that we have to track on when we try to think about a retail store managing and the database management of that retail store. So for example, let's take this as a customer detail. So all these are the customers who walked into our retail store. So we have Bill Smith, Steve, and Sean, and they are from this city, which is located in that state, and it is the PIN number of that state. Now if there is anything which is repeating more than once, which if we do not have any kind of unique value, so we have anything repeating in the column, so we cannot consider that as a unique one. So which one do we consider as a unique? Is in which we do not have any kind of repetitions. There is no repetitions or anything that is
ID.
going to happen. Sorry.
ID.
Yes, correct.
ID column.
Correct. So in the ID, if you see, we have 1, 2, 3. There will be no repetitions happening. So everything will be different. So for this particular table, we consider this ID as a unique one. So when we identify a unique one inside a table, we give it a privilege called a primary key. So as we've talked about having the relationship between the tables, right? So whatever tables that we have created will always be linked to one another. So how do we link those different tables? So initially we're going to make the tables differently, right? So after that we have to link it later. So in order to link two tables, we need to have this assistance of a primary key. So first off, we create a table, we fill it in with the data, and after filling it, we will identify which one is unique, in which column or in which row we have no such repetitions, and everything is different. So once we identify that unique column, we give it a primary key. So let's say that we have two tables, X table and Y table, and we have given, let's say that in both tables ID has a primary key. So one is a customer database, and the second one is a product database. So we'll have that option here on the next slide. So we have the customer table here. So the ID, which is not at all repeating, everything is different. So we have given it a primary key. Okay. And we have another table called items. So we have item ID and the name of the items and the description of the items, right? So in this, the item names can be repeating, as I've said. It can be camera can come again, and we have similar kind of description related products might come in, but the item ID will always be different, right? So for this table also, we have given this primary key to this item ID because it is a unique one. Now if we want to know the sales of let's say this present day, how many sales has been completed in this day. So if you want to know that, we have to first create a sales table, which would have its own ID, and as the IDs are the most unique ones, we'll give it the primary key. And later on, if you see this, so these two are not actually created newly in this particular sales table. So we have taken this, we have connected this item ID with help of the primary key. So we have already created a sales table here, and we have connected this particular item ID here. So instead of knowing what is it, a camera, or is it a memory card, is it a headphone, if we just place the item ID here, so then we would have the customer ID also. So what is the item ID, but which item did they bought, and the next one we connect is the customer ID, which customer has bought that such item, and what is the quantity and price. So that we do. So we create another table to facilitate these two tables. So how do we do this? How do we really link those pages to a new table? How can we get this? So that we'll be learning in few minutes. So I hope you understood the concept of creating a table and identifying a unique key and giving that to the primary key. Everything's understood? Any doubt?
Yes, sir. In item table, the item ID is the primary key. We can consider it as a primary key,
Correct.
which is item ID sales table.
Yes. Yeah, the same
Okay.
the same item ID which is there in the item table, that is the same item ID which you find in the sales table. Because as I've said, this primary keys help us to connect it to other tables. And the ID you find here. So this ID is the same as customer ID in the sales. So if we, let's say that we have this 1, 2, 3 here, right? So if the customer ID is 2, that represents, it will go to the Steve Smith. And item ID is 1, which is the camera. So this particular camera is bought by the Steve Smith, and here that person has bought 3 in quantity, and the price is this. So that is how we can connect it, and we can go through the data.
Okay.
And one more terminology we have to remember is, so we know that these are the primary key tables. So these are the primary keys. And now when we connect these primary keys into a different table, then this item ID and customer ID. So these are not actually from this table. We haven't created as the quantity and price. So these are coming from other tables. So these are called as foreign keys for the sales table. Now you guys have to listen it carefully to understand. It might be a bit confusing. So we have created the customer table and the item table, and we have find out the unique ones, and we have given it the primary key. So we have 2 tables, and the item ID and the customer ID, we have connected it to the sales table. So we have connected other tables columns to this one. So for the sales table, these 2 which have come from other tables will become the foreign keys. Got that concept?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a doubt over here.
Yes.
In sales table, in item ID, we are in item ID and the customer ID, the 2 is repeating. So how do the system would be understanding which 2 we are referring to in the another table when we are taking it as a primary key?
Yeah. So here we have said that in the when we are given something as a primary key, it shouldn't have any repetitions. So in the customer table, this ID is a primary one because it doesn't have any repetitions. So when we have connected that to the sales, so it is no longer a primary key, because we have already given there should be only one primary key to one table. So in this, the sales will be a unique one. And in the customer ID, when we are clicking 2, that means we are talking about that particular product. So we can sell multiple products, right? If we have a camera or a memory card, we can sell multiple cameras. We are not restricted to sell only one, right? So here we are talking about the customer ID and the item ID, and we can say that the Steve Smith has bought camera and a memory card. So one person can buy so many things, right? So that is how we can differentiate.
Okay. Now in item table, we are referring the second item as a 2, right?
Yes.
That is the primary of the sales table. So in sales table, the item ID is also having number 2 and customer ID is also having number 2.
Yes.
So how can a system read it? I mean to ask, in item ID we had just kept the attribute in the top row as an item ID. So will that be read by the system or how?
Yes, so as we are connecting, so right now this in the sales ID we have the unique number, right? 1, 2, 3 are going on. So it is considered as the serial number of that particular table. So whatever things that we are inserting here will be it will go on, it will not stop. So when it comes to
Okay.
this one, like when we click on item ID, so we are not creating a table and we are just directly attaching the item ID here. So we are connecting this item ID directly here.
Okay.
Like that.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Yeah, we are connecting
Fair
the
enough.
item ID from here and we are connecting the custom ID from here. So if we put in some kind of number, it will refer to that particular table and it will come out with the solution.
Okay. Okay. And which particular attribute can be considered as a foreign key over here?
The item ID and customer ID which we have connected here. So those came from other tables, right? They have come from outside tables. So this item ID
Okay.
and the customer ID will be considered as foreign keys for the sales table.
Okay. Got it.
I have one question. I
Yes.
mean, how there could be? I mean, the customer ID. A two-person can have same customer ID.
No, customer ID is let's say I've given 2 and 2 here, right? So
Right.
then we are referring to only one person. So when we click on 2, it will only say about Steve Smith, right? So
Okay.
here,
Okay.
one if one person is buying one thing, then that is one record. So if the same person is buying another thing, then the same person will repeat, and they are buying a different record. It will mention.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Because. Okay, I got it. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So any more doubts, guys? Yeah. So now this is the basic command division. So in the SQL, we have 4 different types of commands which are divided. One is a data definition language, second is data query language, third is data manipulation language, and fourth is data control language. So in the data definition, we have create, alter, drop, rename, truncate, and in the data query language, we have only select, and in the data manipulation, we have insert, update, delete, merge, call, and we have data control, which is grant and revoke. So as a business analysis person, we mostly use just the data query language. Data query means whatever data that is already present, just to have it come to the screen. So let's say that you want to view only the customer's details. So then you can use this select command to only view the customer's details. So whatever the database, whatever the data that is already stored here, to view that we use a select command. And the in the data control language you can say grant and revoke. So if you are working in an IT company and if you want to even do the select one, the database admin has to first give you the permission to access the database. So unless they give that, we cannot do that. So this grant and revoke are those permission related ones. So if you ask the database admin that you want to go through these different kinds of data for the project, then they will first grant you the access to just read the data. We cannot update or we cannot delete, we cannot alter anything. We can just visit the data and we can just go through whatever the data that is present. And once your work is completed, then you will inform the database admin that your work is completed, and then they will revoke the access again. You will be removed from again accessing it unless the DBA again grants you. So most of the time we will only use the select option. But just for a learning sake, we'll go through all the other options as well. Now, right now we are using Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and if you want to practice, you can install this, or else there are other options as well. MySQL, Oracle SQL, whatever you think would be more preferable to you, you can do that. So if you want to go to the Microsoft one, so the moment you open it, it will come out like this. So you'll have a server type and server name. So server name, most of the time it will be whatever your desktop name would be, and you can just click on connect. Right? So right now it is blank, and you can see all these different options here. We have database, security, server objects, and so on. So we have different databases here. So we have databases, security, and all things. Now, if you want to start doing your code here, so you can just go to the new query option and you can just click on it. So we'll have a new page lining up. Now, before doing any kind of code, just go here. If you see here, you will have this drop down option where you have master, model, MSDB, and this tempdb. So these four are predefinedly given with the software. So you shouldn't do any kind of changes in these particular databases. So the sales db and school are the things that I have previously worked on. So if you delete or if you keep it also, it is not at all a problem. And this other four, the master, the MSDB, and the model and the tempdb, we shouldn't do much changes or we shouldn't interact with them. So right now, let's start our SQL basics here. So we'll try to first create a database. So how do we create a database using the SQL? That we'll know. That is very simple. So before we get into it, I would like to tell you one thing, that SQL is not a case sensitive language. So what do you mean by not a case sensitive languages? So when we if you have a knowledge on programming languages, you would know that some programming languages has to follow some set of what do you say, alphabetical order. Like it has to be only small letters that will be coming, or all the big letters. You cannot combine all those, you cannot use it freely. But for the SQL, you can write it any way you want. You can have capital letters in the middle, have small letters in the middle, in any way. So that is what we call as a not case sensitive language. Okay. And yeah, so to create a database, what is the command that you need to use? So first is, you can write create, and you can just say database, and you can give the database a name. So let's say that it is college. Okay, so you can see I'm using the capital letter and the small letter and as by me, so it is not a case sensitive line. So we have given a query here which is create database, and we have given a name to that database which is college. Now here you have this execute button, just click on it. See, command completed successfully. That means that we have created a database. So to see whether that database is really created or not, you can go to these options and you'll just expand the database option. If you do not see, just refresh it once, then you will see that a college database has been created. Okay. Now let's try to create one more. Create database. Okay. Now if you execute it, you'll first get an error, because in the SQL, once you click on the execute, it will run the code from top to bottom. So in the top, we have already written create a database college. So that is already being created. So now it will get an error if you execute. So for that reason, what you can do is, you can just select the code that you want to execute. I selected it, and you can just click on execute now. The command is again completed successfully. You can refresh this one, and you can see that we have another one also created. So it is very easy to create databases. And let's try to understand deleting of like how do we delete a database entirely. Okay, so for that there is a command called drop database. See, sometimes it automatically comes in with a it gives us suggestions, like it will help us while we're in the code. So we have drop database. So while using the drop, like normally as a business analyst you wouldn't use it, but whenever you're using the drop, make sure to check it one or more times, because when you are dropping, that means you're deleting all the contents that is there in a database. So be very careful if you are using this drop option. Once you click on execute, everything, like right now we haven't stored anything in the school database, so it is very much easy for us to delete it. But if you are using the same drop option to delete some kind of database which has some information in it, so try to think twice before dropping and just click on execute. Command is done. So if we look at it right now, we should be able to see no SQ, no school v2. So it has been deleted. Okay. So we have created a database called college now. Okay. And in the college,
Just a question.
yes,
Yeah, earlier when you had this, when you clicked on the databases, you had, I think you already had a college and you right clicked or maybe you deleted that way also. Can we not delete
yes. So
in that manner?
yeah, we can also do that. I'll get into the system part also. So whenever you use this, different platforms to write your code, we normally to improve our SQL sessions in the beginning manner, we will try to do all those using the code only. But there are so many options that are already available in the tool that you are using. So for example, in this one, in the Microsoft SQL Server, so we can create tables and we can delete databases, delete tables just by having these system-based options. So we can create a new database, we can delete something. So all that we can do. So we'll first try to learn them in the SQL code format, and later on we'll also see the alternative version of it using the system. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes. So we have this college.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
As we know, there is a relationship between data and table. So, is there any relationship between databases also?
No, databases are entirely different. Like we do not have any kind of relation in between two different databases. We'd only have a relation between the tables which are present inside the database, but in between two databases, we wouldn't have any relation.
So, we cannot use the data of different databases.
So
Right?
yeah, so for one database, we have one set of data. We cannot have the same data to access to other databases.
Okay.
Yeah, what we can do is we can take out the data which is already there in some number one database, and we want that same data to be present in the number two one. We can just take that data and put it in, but we cannot assist like we cannot have the both of the databases assisting with each other. Okay. So now we have created a database, and in that in the RDBMS we have talked about tables, right? So we have to create tables here. So in the college database, we have to create four. One is a table for students, and the second is a table for courses, and third is a table for teachers or the lecturers. What? So now let's try to come up with the table for the students. So for that, what is the command? We would first have create, and then instead of databases, it will become table. Create table and the name for that, which is students. So let's have this one small. So create tables students. So we are creating a table called students. Now in this, we have to first, what is the first thing that we have to put inside this? Now we are creating a table. So in this table, what are the headings that you need to have? What are the columns that you need to have? That we're going to write in first. First off, for any table, we would need the ID, right? So we first need the ID. And after giving this ID is the column name. So we can write it as a student ID or a course ID, whatever with it. So you can write it as student ID. Right? Student ID is there. And then we have to give the data type of it. So if anybody is from coding format, they would understand the data types. So data types are very simple. Like whatever the input that we are giving. So for the student ID, what would be the input? It would be in the numbers format. Right. So whenever we have any kind of input in the numbers format, mostly we would try to give the int data type. So those numbers are represented in the integer format. So after giving the table name, we're gonna specify which data type it is, and later on, as the student ID or the ID column, most of the time it will be unique. There will not be any repetition happen. So we can declare the primary key here only. Like this particular thing has a primary key, right? And we can say that it is not null. Not null in the sense there is no null options or a blank line will be there. And the last one is identity. So what is this identity? Now, if you look at this previous table here, so we have 1, 2, 3. So it started with 1 and it is incrementing one by one. So 1 and again 2 and again 3. So all the tables are doing the same. So that is because of the identity option. So in the identity, the first one represents what is the number that you want to start this table with, which is 1, and the next number represents the incrementation. How much incrementation do you need for each and every entry? So if I click it as, if I write this one as 2 comma 2, that means the table will start with 2. So here the table will start with 2 instead of 1, and for every entry it will become 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on, because it is incrementing with 2 every time. So if you have 1 comma 1, that means it is going to start with 1 and it is going to increment every time with only number 1. So that is done with the first column. So we have given a column name and we have specified which data type it is, and we have also given the primary key for it, as we know that it will be a unique table, and we have specified that it is not null, and that means it doesn't have any kind of blank values, and it will increment by 1 every. Now that is done. Second thing is we need to have a column to enter the first name and last name of the student. That is mandatory. First name, and then we also have to give the data type here. So normally for the names we give the letters, right? So letters will be the input. For that there are different kinds of data types which are available in the SQL. So we have character, CHAR means character, and we have VAR, CHAR, varchar, which is a variable and character combination, and we have nvarchar, numerical variable and character combination. So you can use any of it. And inside the bracket, the 50 which you're saying, it is a limitation. So no matter what the name is, it shouldn't exceed more than 50 letters. So if you keep it 10, that means that it shouldn't exceed more than 10 letters. So we're going to give the first name and we're going to specify the data type, and then we're going to say it is also not null. We cannot have that particular column with a blank one. We should have, if a student is coming, we should note their first name and last name. That is a mandatory option. The same goes for the last name. Okay, so is it clear now? So I heard my voice is breaking. Is it okay?
Now it's clear.
Yes. Yeah, hello. Yeah, am I audible now? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so someone had a doubt in the comment section regarding the not null. Unable to see the not null
Hey,
and the last
can you
name.
say again about this nvarchar?
Sure. So the naming characters, like in the first name, normally we enter the alphabets, right? So for the student ID, which we enter the numbers, we have given the integer data type. And for the first name and the last name, where we're going to enter the alphabetical order. So normally for the alphabets, we have the data type called char, which is called as a character, and we have another data type called varchar, and we have the third one, which is nvarchar. So we have different kinds of data types for just for entering the alphabetical order in that call. So we can, like, character means it gives you the flexibility to have only the characters inside inserted, and nvarchar means we can have a number and alphabetical order combination. So that is what nvarchar means. So you can either give character.
Sir, but in this scenario, I think we can just use varchar because in first name there is no number probability of number coming in between the alphabets.
Yes, correct. So I'm just keeping this just to have a idea of what are the different kinds of databases. So this is the last one we can choose.
There could be,
Yes, we can only have
there
characters
could,
also here.
like Henry the Fourth,
Sorry.
like we can also have numbers in the first name, like Henry the Fourth,
Yeah, so I don't think Henry the
right?
Fourth will be studying today, but yeah, we can have. Yeah. So for the nvarchar we have given, and inside this a 50 if you see. So this is the limitation that we are keeping. So no matter what the first name is, we cannot exceed the characters more than 50. And again, we have not null. Not null is specifying that in that first name column we shouldn't leave it blank. It should fill it somewhere. And same goes for the last name also.
So n represents numbers, right?
Yes, correct. Numbers, variable, and character. So student
Variables in the sense what it is?
a variable.
Character I can understand.
Yeah, variables we can have, some changing values like x and y, mostly considered as the variables here. So nvarchar is
X and Y.
yes. So x and y, they can be considered characters and they can also be considered as variables.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that the last name, the next thing should be date of birth. We can just have it as a DOB. Okay. So the date of birth also has its own different data type. So we have two different data types for the date of birth or any kind of date related input. So one is just date, or you can have date type. So if we specify just date, then while we're entering it, we'll only have the date options, whatever the date that we have entered, and the date time in the sense when the moment that we've entered the student details, the date of birth and everything, will show the timing and it will show the date also. You can use date or datum, anything suffices. And again, not null. And at last, we can have the enrollment date, student enrollment date. And this can also be like, here we're also putting the date time option here because it is also entered in a date format. And we are just leaving, we are not attaching a not null option because when someone wants to visit a college, when someone wants to go there, it is not that everybody who visits will be enrolling it, right? So someone just let's say they want to see the college, whether we can really get into it or not. So they just fill in their details, but they may enroll and they may not enroll. So we can just keep it as null option. We can avail the null options here. So we have tried to create a table, and we have so we have student ID. We have given a data type for it. We have given it a primary key, not null, and we have given it identity also. And we have first name, last name, date of birth, and enroll date. So now we want to execute it. So we know that there is already something up here. So we have to select all these things and we have to execute. But before that, you need to be wary of one thing. So here in this section, if you see, it is showing the master. Now, this is not the database that we're working on. So before you execute anything, you have to check whether whatever database that you're working on is shown up here. If not, if you just execute it, it will show as an error. So you can just go here and you will find the list of databases and click on the one that you are currently working on. Okay. Now, if you don't want to do all that stuff, for example, if you do not want to look at, have to check to that everywhere, every time you do something, if you think that is a hassle, what you can do is you can write one command. See, use college. So here we are using this college database, and while executing, you can also select that one. And even if we have different database here also, you can just execute it and it will show us that it is complete. So first, whenever you're executing something, check whether that particular database is really present here or not. If you do not want to go through all that stuff, you can just write the database, write that command use, and just mention the database that you are currently working on. Yes. Yes, someone was saying something.
Yeah, does BA write all these comments?
No,
Being a BA?
as I've said, the business analyst will not be doing any of this stuff. We will only be using, one or two particular commands most of the time. So I'm just going through all this, creating of a databases, creating of the tables. So I'm just going through all this stuff because you would have a basic idea of what SQL really is. So what does int indicate in student ID? Int means the integer, like it is a data type. Whenever we are entering any number related inputs, we use the integer as a the data type of it. Yeah. So coming back to this question, as a business analyst, we'll only use the select command which I have just mentioned here. So the select command is used to showcase whatever data that is previously there. We'll use that select command and I'll show the example of it also. So how do we use the select command as a business analyst and how do we retrieve that data? So I'll just show you how to create, like I've already shown you how to delete a databases, and I'm going to show you, I have already shown you how to create, like we'll see how the table has been out. And after that, uh, we'll have a previous database that I've worked on, and I'll just show you how to use the select option. So if we have a database which is already done, so what as a business analyst you will be doing using that database. Okay. Now, yeah, so we have run this program and we have to see whether the table has been really created or not. For that, if you want to write a code for it, so this will be the one. So you'll first write the command select it star from what is the name of that particular table? Students. See, it is automatically giving us the suggestions here. So select star from students. So star in the sense select everything. You can see if I click on star, it comes with all the column names here: student ID, first name, last name, everything. So if you only want to view just one particular detail out of all this, or just if you want to just know the first name and last name of the students, you can remove the star and you can just write the first name and last name. It will show us that only. Let's select this one and we'll try to execute this.
Can we insert the values in the table which we had created?
Sure, we can do that. I'll show that to you. So you can see we have select star from students. So once we run this, we are having this one: student ID, a column, first name, last name, date of birth, and enrollment date. So all the headings are being done here. And after that, let's try to put in some details, like let's try to put in some values in that particular students table. Yeah. So let's try to insert that thing. Like this is the select command, as I've been saying, you would mostly be using as a business analyst. So now we have retrieved something from the database, right? So we have retrieved a table. So this select command is mostly what we use. And let's try to put in some data in that students table. So how do we do that? So we'll use this command called insert into the table name. It's a students. Insert into students. And what do you want to insert? That will be the first name. Say it is giving us the suggestions here, comma, last name, and then we had our what did we have again? First name, last name, and date of birth.
ID, student ID.
Yeah, so student ID, it is an automatically updated process. So we have given this identity, right? So whenever we enter something, the student ID will automatically update itself. So we do not have to give some value to it. And the last one is enrollment date. So we have these four things that we need to insert. And after this, we'll write values. And while you are giving the values here, it has to follow this particular format on first name, last name, date of birth, and enrollment date. So okay, we'll try to insert something. Just give me a random first name. Anybody?
Aditya.
Sorry, Aditya. Okay.
Aditya.
Okay, Aditya. And last name?
Kota. KOTA.
Sorry, HOTA.
KOTA.
KOTA.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll just give you a random date of birth. Okay. Yeah. So while you're entering any kind of date formats, it has to be in this format only: the year, the month, and the date. And the enrollment date into the college. So let's say it is 2021 and it is 8 and 15. Yeah, that is only in no, we cannot have that. This is the only format that we can use, the date time format, the year, month, and date. We do not have, we can't change this one. Okay, so we have entered the values here: first name, last name, and the date of birth, and the enrollment date. So normally what happens is, inside the database we will not enter it. We'll just leave it as a blank column, and once we, when someone is coming and when someone uses this, so they'll use the system, like whatever system that is there to fill in their details. They're going to connect it to the databases, and as they fill in the details in some random Excel sheet or in the system itself, it will be fed to the system in the backend. So here we are currently writing all the details one by one in here, but normally when in the colleges, when they enter the students details, that will automatically be added inside the SQL or inside the database. Okay. So after this, I had something prepared already, so we'll try to add those. So we had this one. So we had first names, last names, and date of birth, and I have put some null here because in the enrollment date, if you see, we have the option to keep it as null. So I've just kept it as null, and now we'll try to select and run it. So just look here that it is in the college, so we don't have to worry, and we'll execute this. See, it shows that 5 rows are affected. Now again, so if you want to look at the students table, you can have the select option. Select star means everything which is inside the table from the particular table. You can just run it, and now we have student ID. So it is automatically generated first name, last name, and the date. Here we have used, as I've said, date time format. Yeah, so null in the sense we can just leave that thing as, even if we do not enter anything, it will not show us any kind of problem. So in the enrollment date, why I have shown, like if you see the student ID, first name, last name, and date of birth, so those are all the mandatory options. So when a student is visiting a college, we need to take out their details. But the enrollment, it is up to the student whether they want to really enroll into that college or not. So not every person who is visiting the college will be able to join in that college, right? So that is why we've put this enrollment date, enrollment as null, and someone has joined and someone has not. So now we have this. So now till now we
Sir?
have, yes.
Sir, if we have thousands of record in a table in a spreadsheet, like
Okay.
Excel sheet,
Okay.
so if we want to enter in it in the database, we have to do it manually one by one, or is there any way to
Yeah, there is a way, like
export it?
there is a way to export whatever the data that is there in the Excel sheet into the SQL. So that is very easy. Like the manual thing is very hard, right? If you have thousands of entries to do. So we have an option to export that
Hmm.
Excel sheet, all the data into it to the database directly. We'll have those options.
Okay.
So till now we have seen how to create.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Sir, like in enrollment number, we have to put it null. But if we don't put null and even not a single value, so in enrollment number, it will be show some error, or it will run when we have the select statement.
Like if we are leaving it blank, we
Like
have.
if it not full, yeah, not read null. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to leave this thing as a blank, so you have to specify it as a null. If we do not specify it as a null, it will give us an error back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, there's one question.
Mhm.
Can we change the information of any particulars after execution? If we have to change, what we are supposed to do,
So
or we have to run the program again?
no, if we want to change this, changing that in the SQL is a bit hard. So what we can do is we can go to the systems option. So here, if you expand it,
Okay.
you can go to the database which you have worked on, which is the college. Expand it again, and inside this you will have an option called tables. So in that you will have the tables which I've all created. So till now we have just created a student table. What you can do is, if you want to edit the contents in the student table, you can just right click on it and you'll have all these options. You can go to edit top 200 rows. Just click on this one and you'll have the option to edit whatever you want to edit. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So that is the easiest option. And now we have seen creating and deleting a databases. We have seen
Sir, in the last line of the code in the insertion, there is no comma. There will be no comma in the syntax.
yeah. So at the end, like when we're done with entry, we will not have any comma.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can we make the system directly ask us to enter the name instead of this coding part? Like the system will be asking enter the first name and will give the first name and the date of enrollment and so on.
Yeah, that is what. So normally we do not enter all these values inside this SQL or Microsoft SQL platform. So there will be a platform built, and for that we're going to connect the database, right? So whatever the platform that they use in order to enter the student details while they're registering, they're going to enter the details normally in their system. Now, as they're entering, these values will be stored into the database.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So these are the basics that we need to know. So if you want, let's take a new query here and let's try to run our SalesDB. So SalesDB is the previous one that I've worked on. So let's see what are the tables that it has. So SalesDB, we can go through it. And now we are a business analyst. So the database admin has given us the option to just view the tables which are there, just view the data that is there in the SalesDB. Now we have gone to the SalesDB and we have seen the tables. So we have 4 different tables here. One is for customers, employees, products, and sales. Now for this, if we want to view the contents in the customers table, so what is the command that we need to use? Can you tell me?
select star from?
From customers.
So first we will use the select command, and now we want to have all the things to be viewed in the customers table. So we'll hit star. The star represents all the contents that is present in the table. From, and again the table name, which is, say it is giving the suggest customer, and we can just execute this. See, query executed successfully. Entirely we have 19,759 rows. So we have someone named Aaron most of the time, and the last name is different. So all these are different people. In the middle name, the initials, some are null, some have the names. Right? So we have all these different options. Now, if you just want to have the first name and the last name to be printed, so you can just remove the star and you can write first name, comma, last name from the customers. Click on execute, and you'll have only first name and last name. So as we have an option to read, we have to use all these different kinds of options. We can view the data in whichever way that is easy to view. If you do not want to have any specific thing, you can just click on start and we'll have this one. So this is the select one, and there is one more thing that you normally don't use, but you can have another thing called update. So update is also one thing. So what you do with
But if we only want to see the structure of the table, like we don't know the column names yet, I don't want to see the whole data. I just want to see only the columns.
You just want to see the column names.
Yes.
Yeah, like if you just want to see the column names, you can just retract this one, and you'll have the column names in here. Say the customer ID, first name, last name, middle initial, everything you can view it in here. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So there
Don't you? Is there any command also?
No. Once we fill in the table, once we fill in the details in the table, we cannot have only the column names appearing. Okay. So where do you use this update is like normally we wouldn't have access to do this, but we normally DBS uses update to rewrite the previous what you say entry. So let's say let's fill this middle name here. So let's fill this middle name of the second row Aaron. So update, let's say middle, was it middle initial? Middle initial, yeah. So this is the command. So update, we'll write the table which we are currently working on, which is customers. Set is another command, and which one you want to change? Middle initial is equals to I, where either we can change all the middle initials which are null into I, or else if you want to do change in a specific row here, if you want to change the row 2 in the Aaron of the row 2, so we'll do is where let's say customer ID is equals to 2. Okay. See, one row is affected. Now we'll see, select. So right now it is changed to I. So we can use this. Now, if we do not use this where condition, so if we just remove it and execute it, all the things which are present in the middle initial will be updated to I. So the null and not null, everything will be repeated or rewritten will be I. Okay. So we need, whenever we are updating something or whenever we are deleting something, we need to specifically do it using the where. Is it clear?
Hello.
Yeah, clear.
Yeah, I just want to ask, like, in where condition, we can take any of the table initial, like customer ID, first name, first name, last name, anything that we can take in where condition will be changed accordingly with this, and we can take anyone, right?
Correct. Correct. Yes, guys. Any more doubts?
Does this get saved automatically, or I mean, and if like you have made any change, but then you don't, you want to reverse the change, is that possible?
So if you want to reverse the change, there is something called a rollback, which you have to give previously. Like while you are doing something, let's say that the customer ID is equals to 3, and let's try to change it to P, for example. Okay. Now we have this one set, and we'll do this rollback. So when we execute this one, it is affected and it is changed to P. Now if we select this rollback again, there is one more. Okay. So it is changed to L, and if you click on rollback, yes. See, so initially we have given for the customer ID 4 the L middle initial, and if you want to do any kind of changes, like no, you have given something and you thought that okay, it is a wrong input, so you have to redo that. So initially, to be safe side, whenever you are updating something, before it you need to write this begin tran option, and at the end you need to have the rollback. So while you're executing, select all this and execute, and if you think that it has gone wrong, then you can again click on the rollback. You can execute the rollback to reverse that change, and this one will only be applicable to the latest thing that you've done. Okay.
Suppose you forget to write this begin, already execute something, then you cannot
Yes, you
reverse
cannot.
it.
You cannot
Is it?
reverse it. Yes.
So, like rollback is basically in MS Office, what we do as an undo, it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah, but it only works once.
Okay, so if I press again rollback, it will not replace the P also. So it will only work the latest ones.
Yes, correct. Yes, guys. Any more doubts you have? So these are the basics for a business analyst person to know. Like we need, we have learned more than the basics here. Mostly we will be using the select option most of the time to just retrieve the data. We will not be updating or deleting or creating any of it. So it is just that we will have a basic idea of what are the basic commands that we use in the SQL language. And most of the time we'll use the select, and instead of star you can replace it with different kinds of options that you would only need to view of. Yeah, so the session.
Just a question.
Yes.
Uh, like, can I insert like one of the row from one database to another, like completely?
I didn't understand that.
Like suppose this first name entire column, if I were to select this entirely and paste it in some other database, so is that possible?
Selecting the entire data, yes, it can be possible. Like you can take this particular data and you can attach that into another database. Like that is possible.
Yeah, like how you had told that customer ID. Yeah.
Yes, please continue.
Like how you had shown in the beginning, like customer ID and two things can be merged into another table.
Yeah,
So,
that is only inside one particular database. So inside one particular database, we can have thousands of tables and they can be related to each other. But we cannot relate one table which is present in one database to another table which is present in another database. We cannot do that.
so if I were to create into another database, then I have to create it completely. I cannot copy paste from the other database. You're saying.
See, if you want to copy, we have the sales DB, right? So in this, we have a customer table. You can take the information, you can take the entire data which is there in the customer table, and you can create or you can paste that into new database. That is possible. But the relationship between the tables that we are talking, it can only be possible between the tables inside one database. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
Like,
Sir.
hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, how to export data?
Sir,
You
I
said
want to know
that you can export data from Excel. So if you can just show us that how to export data from an Excel table, if you have any data example.
Let me see. Yeah, so here you can see we have different kinds of options. We have analysis and we have, I think it was somewhere around here, I think I've previously used it. New project and So I'm not able to find it right now, but at the end of the session, while you receive this video here, you'll also be having a PDF file which comes along with you. So in that, I hope you'll find all the details that you want to know. Yeah. So Aditya, this particular software, we do not provide any kind of links to install it, but it is free to download this Microsoft SQL one. Like there are different softwares also, the Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and MySQL. There are different softwares. Just try to do your own research. Like if you find out anything which you like, you can just install it. Like most of it give 1 to 2 years of free usage. You can just download it and try to practice it. That is better. And yeah, so these are the basics. So that is what we learn in this, and this is the end, I think, for this SQL session.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
So there are some, let's say, yes, so there are some multiple tables are there in the database. So I want to analyze data from like I want to extract the data from different tables. So one is from I'm taking from the customer table and one is taking from the sales table. So how we write the command for that?
So for that, there is a big concept called joins. So we have a concept called joins in the SQL. So that is a higher level command. So if we're gonna attach a different kinds of tables into one table. Like we cannot have, like, what we do here actually is we create an empty table. So let's say that we have a customer table and we have a sales table. And now we want to see how many sales have been done. So for that, in order to put the information from these two tables into one table, we'll create a random table first. We'll just name it, and we'll connect that two tables into this table. Then we're gonna enter that 1, 2 options which you have seen here, right? So in the item ID and customer ID, here we have created a sales table, and we have incorporated the item and customer into this third party table here. And we'll use these different numberings in order to identify which one comes in. So to understand these points, I suggest you to go to the the W3 Schools website. It is very much easy to learn the basics of the SQL, and the joins concept is one of the importance for the database administrators. So this much basic would be enough, but if you want to get into more, then you can visit W3 Schools. That is a very free to use software, and you can learn a lot in. Okay.
WT School.
Yeah, I'll just put that in the the type section. It is W3 Schools.
Okay.
So w3schools.com. It is a free website. It'll not only for SQL, it has various programming language, and it is all for free. You can learn it there.
Okay, so in the as a business analyst, I just want this data, so I can write a query like in a story format. I'll write a story and I give it to DB database manager, and he'll fetch the data and he'll send it to me to analyze the data.
Normally,
this is how it works.
Yeah, normally if you wanna get access to read the data, you'll first send a mail to DBA. What is your purpose of accessing the data? You're gonna give a reason, and then DBA will give you the access. And whatever data that you want to do your research on, you'll go through the data, and once your work is done, you'll again tell that your work is done, and then they're going to revoke your access. That's it.
So they'll provide me data in a joint format also.
No,
like joint tables also.
They will not provide you anything like in this format only. Already the data is present. So the joint format, you have to type in those things. You have to type in the commands for the joining of.
I have to do that.
Yeah, so that is what I've said. So in the W3 Schools, you have that very much clearly explained about the joins and different kinds of joins. So just go through those. I hope you'll get a brilliant idea on how to use the joins and other deeper knowledge on SQL as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
I have one question.
Yes, Siddhartha.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. See, I want to know, like, as I said, that importing data from Excel, what we were just checking, like, it is also possible that after like creating a table or after applying the join application, join command, can we also export that particular table into Excel so that we can use it in the future? Can we do also that?
No, see here we are using that join function everything to read the data. We cannot do any kind of changes. So once you do your work and once you get out as access, it will again remain as it was before. So we use the joins to view in our convenient way. That's it.
No, that I understood. What I'm trying to say is, like, I'm giving in scenario. I just mailed it to DBMS so that access has been given to me, so I can just read the data. So I just read and understood, and I applied a join command so that two tables can be like marked for my convenience, and I want to use it in a future as a future reference. Okay. So, and I need to revoke my like access. So that is why, can I just put it into Excel and save it for my future reference on that particular table? Can I do it?
No, you cannot.
From it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So someone asked me about the difference between primary and foreign key. So the primary key are the ones that we give to unique columns. So here, out of all this tables that you're seeing, so a unique column in the sense it doesn't have any kind of repetition and it doesn't have any kind of null values. Null values in the sense a blank column. So when a column satisfies that will be eligible for the primary key. And in here we have the example of customer and item. So in all the column names we have the ID is the one which is unique. So it doesn't have any of repetitions or any null values. And same goes for the item. So we give it as a primary key. And what do you mean by foreign key is? So foreign in the sense something outside. So something outside coming into us. So this customer ID and the item ID are the primary keys for their own tables. But here we are connecting those different ID names into another sales table here. So sales table is its own table and it has its own primary key. When outside tables are getting connected into the sales table, which are foreign tables to that. So that is what we call it as a foreign keys. So these are the foreign keys for that sales table because they are migrating from other tables. I hope that cleared your doubt.
Just a quick question. So when we are
sorry,
the command.
Just a second. I forgot to share the screen. Yeah. So I was explaining. Here we have the customer table and we have the item table because they are the primary keys for their own tables. And then when it migrates or when it connects to other table, it becomes foreign because it is coming from outside. So they become foreign table to the sales. Yeah. So someone was asking something here.
Yeah. So just when we are entering this command, and if we don't specify anything like not null or null.
Okay.
So what I mean, how does the table show up? Is it going to show up blank?
So if we show it as null, for example, so you can see in this when we specified null, it will show it as null. It will not leave it as blank, but it will show it as null. Okay. So if we put in any value here, it will show the value.
Yeah, but if we did enter null, right? I think that's the reason it is showing up null. So just in case if you are not entering anything in the command, what does it show up? Does it show up empty box?
No, it will give us an error if it is a null value that is showing up there. But if we did not enter anything, then it will show like in some this what do you say, the management systems where you write in the code. So for some systems they also require this semicolon to be added, and for some there is no need. So most of the time if we just leave it, it will give us an error or it will give us a normal null option. So it differs based on the system you're using. In the Oracle it might get different, in the Microsoft server it might get different. So if you want to leave it as a blank option or a null option, so try put it in null first, to have no problem in any of the system. So if you try to experiment whether this is really working or not, if I do not keep a null, if I just leave it randomly, then you can try it out. So most of the time in some servers it gives us an error, and in some systems it will give us the null option directly.
Hello, sir. I have two questions.
Okay.
Yes.
The first question is, sir, like you said, in if you are using another application like a MySQL or SQL Oracle, so in that particular we have to use semicolon I mean we have to use semicolon, or we can use like we are using in SQL query.
Yeah, so that is what I'm saying. In different systems it differs. So in some system they would require the semicolon at the end of each and every code that you run, and in the Microsoft one it doesn't require any of it. So based on whichever you think would be free to use, free in the sense you will be comfortable with, so that you can just go through.
And sir, second question, if in an interview some company are asking like, have you used SQL? So what is the basic response that they are thinking? Like if they are asking, have you used in SQL, and we haven't used SQL till now. So what are the basic things that they want us to know from SQL apart from select?
So for a business analyst role, if they ask you about the SQL knowledge, so most of the reading, like the select option which are used to read the data, would be mostly asked. And sometimes they would also ask you about the joining of the tables also. So apart from joining, the joining is the highest one that they could ask you when it comes to SQL. So apart from that, they wouldn't ask you much.
Okay, so the basic response that we have to give to them is, yes, I have used the SQL and we have done this thing, including the join.
So they would expect the business analyst person to at least have a knowledge of SQL, so that if the database admin has given access to you, you can at least retrieve the data and try to go through the data. That is the basic knowledge that they would use. Yeah.
Okay, so they don't ask about the create or like you said DDL or DML that they will not expecting we know that thing, right?
Yeah, so for a business analyst, the use of SQL is very simple. We will not create any tables, we will not update or delete anything. We will only use our select commands or the commands which help us to read the already there data, and we'll just go through it as per our requirement and we'll shut that off, we'll complete it. So that is the only use that a business analyst would have with SQL.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope that solves all of your questions. I hope it has been a fun session, and I hope you have learned something out of it. And if you want to learn more about this, as I really suggest you go to that W3 Schools. It is a free website wherein you can learn more. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for waiting initially, and thank you so much for listening as well.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.